Welcome back, everyone. Today, we are diving deep. We're not just covering a topic, we are charting a map of the most intimate, most profound territory imaginable, the soul itself. Using the mystical blueprint of the Zohar and its incredible commentaries, we're about to go on an epic journey, a true odyssey into the very nature of who we are.
We all talk about having a soul, right? But these questions, these are the big ones, the ones that echo through our lives. And the sources we're exploring today, they don't see the soul as some static, ghostly thing. No way. They see it as a dynamic, complex, and unbelievably powerful entity that's on a mission, a grand odyssey from a place of perfect unity, down into the beautiful chaos of our world, and ultimately finding its way back up again. This isn't just ancient philosophy. This is literally the story of you.
So, here's our flight plan for today's deep dive. First, we're going to uncover this fundamental conflict that exists inside every one of us, the wild reality of having two souls. Then, we'll follow the soul's deliberate plunge into the physical world and see what happens, this state of spiritual exile. But don't worry, we'll then uncover the ancient roadmap for return, the one pioneered by Abraham. After that, we'll learn how to take all our different spiritual parts and forge them into a single brilliant flame. And finally, we'll grasp the soul's ultimate cosmic purpose. It's going to be a journey.
All right, first things first. To even begin to understand this journey, the Zohar's tradition throws a massive curveball right at the start. It basically says that the fundamental human experience isn't about having a soul. It's about navigating the constant tension between two of them. Two totally different life forces, both operating inside one body. And the real insight here is that this internal conflict we all feel, it's not a bug, it's a feature. It's the fundamental operating system of what it means to be human.
Just look at the contrast here. It's night and day. On one side, you've got the Neshama, the divine soul. The Midrash Neelam says it's literally carved from the throne of glory. Just try to picture that. It's a pure fragment of divinity itself, our direct uplink to the infinite. And then, on the other side, you have the Nefesh Chaya, the animal soul. The texts say this one comes straight from the earth. It's the raw, vital life force that animates our bodies. It governs our instincts, our desires, our survival drive. It's not evil, not at all, but it is 100% focused on this world. And the entire human drama, every choice we make, plays out in the push and pull between these two incredible forces.
Now, this quote, wow, this is absolutely crucial to understanding how the journey began. The verse in Genesis says, "And man became a living soul." The Midrash zooms in on that word, became. It doesn't say God made him that way. It says he became that way. It implies a choice, a conscious shift. It suggests that humanity's original setting was a seamless identification with the divine soul, the Neshama. But a pivot happened, a shift in consciousness to identify with the lower, more tangible, earthly soul instead. This was the first step away from home. So this leads to a really profound question, doesn't it? If our original state was so connected, so sublime, why on earth would the soul ever choose to leave? Well, the answer, as we're about to see, is that this descent wasn't some kind of accident or punishment. It was a deployment. It was a mission into the messy, complicated, and very real physical world, a place where its unique light was needed most of all. I mean, just listen to this language. It's so powerful. The Midrash paints this picture of a celestial messenger speaking to the soul, using the exact same words God spoke to Abraham. Lecha, go for yourself. Leave your father's house, which it says is the supernal Garden of Eden, and go to the dark, lowly earth. It's framed like a heroic call to adventure. The soul isn't being kicked out. It's being sent as an emissary to a foreign land, a place of concealment and spiritual darkness, for one reason, because its light can actually make a difference there. A modern analogy can really help lock this in. Think of your Neshama as a perfect, divine, cloud-based operating system. It's flawless, always connected. It's got the master blueprint for everything. But for its mission, it has to be installed on local hardware, our physical body and its animal soul. Now, this hardware is incredibly powerful, right? It can interact with the physical world in ways the purely spiritual OS never could. But, and this is a big but, it's also vulnerable. It has its own legacy programming, its own primal instincts, and it's susceptible to corruption, to viruses, and to forgetting its connection to the main server. So what happens when that local hardware starts to take over? When the needs, the wants, the desires of the physical world get so loud that they just drown out the signal from our divine source? Well, this leads us to the state the Zohar calls galut, or exile. It's this profound sense of spiritual disconnection, of feeling like a stranger in a strange land, even when you're in your own skin. And this This is where the Zohar makes a breathtaking connection. It says that our personal, internal feeling of being in exile, a feeling cut off from our spiritual core, is actually a direct reflection of a much larger cosmic drama. Specifically, when the collective soul of Israel is in exile, like they were down in Egypt, the divine presence itself, the Shekhinah, goes into exile with them. The Zohar describes how all the celestial beings descended into Egypt with Jacob. So our inner struggle isn't happening in a vacuum. It's part of a much bigger divine story of concealment and this deep yearning for reunion.
And to make this really concrete, the Zohar gets very specific. It identifies 3 major ways we build the walls of our own internal exile. Now, the original text uses specific legal terms, but the mystical idea behind them is universal. First, by disharmonizing our most powerful, creative, and life-giving energies, by acting against their sacred, natural rhythms. Second, by forming deep, intimate connections that are spiritually out of sync with our core purpose, pulling us off our true path. And third, by just squandering our divine potential for creation itself, whether that's physical, emotional, or creative. These are described as actions so out of tune with the flow of life that they literally create a space where holiness just can't reside.
Let's put this in video game terms. It makes so much sense. Imagine your divine soul is your main player character. You spawn into this incredibly difficult level called the physical zone. Right away, you start getting hit with status effects or debuffs from the environment and the super powerful animal instincts faction. These debuffs, things like desire, anger, pride, they can become so overwhelming that you lose connection to your main quest line, which is to connect with the divine source. You end up getting lost in all these side quests, just grinding for material loot, and you totally forget what your character's ultimate purpose ever was. That, right there, is the essence of exile.
But here's the beautiful thing. No one is meant to stay in exile forever. The darkness only exists so that we can bring light to it. And for this, the Zohar gives us a master key, a spiritual blueprint for navigating our way back home. And that blueprint is the life journey of Abraham. His story isn't just history. It's a coded map for refining the soul, and not just his own soul, but for creating a pathway that could even redeem the very past he came from. What's so amazing here is watching how Abraham's physical travels are a perfect mirror for his spiritual growth. The Zohar explains that when he first gets to the Promised Land, he connects with the foundational soul level, the Nefesh. As he journeys south into the desert, he works to attain the next level, Ruach, the spirit. But to get to the very highest level, he has to go down into Egypt, the ultimate symbol of spiritual limitation. That's his crucible. And it's only after he navigates that darkness and ascends out of it that he emerges purified, finally ready to integrate the Neshama. But here's the secret the Zohar reveals. This journey had ripple effects. His own father, Terah, the idol maker he left behind, eventually does teshuvah. He returns. All because of the path Abraham forged. Abraham's light was so powerful it actually reached backwards to illuminate the darkness he came from. So the engine driving this whole process is teshuvah. Now, this word is often translated as repentance, but honestly, that word is way too small. The Hebrew root means to return. Teshuvah is the technology of return. It's the process Abraham modeled. And we see its incredible power in that famous verse that says, Abraham and Sarah left Haran with the souls that they had made. What does that mean? They didn't literally create people. The Zohar explains they inspired people to do teshuvah, to return from their old broken beliefs and reconnect to their divine source. They were spiritual catalysts. They were creating a community of returnees. That is the real meaning of making souls, helping them find their own way back home.
Let's go back to our cosmic engineering analogy because it fits perfectly here. Teshuvah is like booting your entire being into recovery mode. First, you run diagnostics, that's just honest self-reflection. Then, you find and repair corrupted files, our negative character traits. You run a deep scan to find and delete any malware, what the Kabbalists call the Sitra Achra, the other side. And then finally, the climax, a full reinstallation of the pure, divine operating system, reconnecting you directly with your Neshama. For Abraham, this wasn't just a personal system recovery. He was creating a spiritual patch that could be deployed across an entire network of souls, helping all of them reboot and reconnect. So what does it look like when this system recovery is complete? What's the goal state? After the soul has been refined through the trials of exile and the beautiful process of teshuvah, the real work begins, unifying these different levels, Nefesh, Ruach, and Neshama, so they stop acting like separate drives and start working as one integrated, brilliantly burning flame. And to help us really visualize this incredible state of integration, the Zohar gives us one of its most beautiful and timeless metaphors, the flame of a candle. It asks us to just look closely at a simple flame and see within its very structure the secret of a perfected soul. I mean, just think about how perfectly this analogy works. The Zohar points out that a candle flame has 3 distinct parts, but they're completely unified. At the very bottom, clinging to the physical wick, that's the body, there's a dark, almost blue light. This, it says, is the Nefesh, the earthly soul, which can't exist without the physical. Rising up from that is the bright, white, visible flame we all see. That is the Ruach, the spirit, which is always ascending, always striving upward. But around that white flame is a third hidden light, an invisible aura of heat that you can feel but you can't see. That is the Neshama, the pure, supernal divine essence, which is unknowable but gives the entire flame its power. When all 3 are present and perfected, the light is truly whole. And here's the payoff. The Zohar states that when these 3 levels of the soul are fully integrated, fully perfected within a person, that individual is called kadosh, holy. But not holy in some kind of removed, holier-than-thou way. No, the core meaning is whole, complete, perfectly integrated. It's a state of being where the physical, the emotional, and the spiritual dimensions are all working in perfect harmony, creating one single, sacred, unified light. And this brings us to the ultimate question. We've seen the descent, the exile, the return, the integration. But what is it all for? What is the final cosmic mission of this perfected, holy soul? Well, it's about taking that inner wholeness and projecting it outward to help complete the very purpose of creation itself. Because in the end, this entire epic journey, it isn't just for self-improvement. The whole point of refining the soul is to turn it into a conduit. A perfected soul becomes a conscious partner with the divine in the ongoing process of creation. By living in the physical world with this integrated consciousness, it actively draws down divine light and holiness into the darkest corners of reality, literally transforming the world from the inside out. And its ultimate destiny, after its mission is complete, is to return to its source and be bound in the bundle of life, achieving a state of complete and final reunion with the one from which it first came. So we end with a question to take with you. If our soul truly is like a 3-part flame, and our entire life is a journey to make that flame burn bright and whole and clear, which part of your flame needs the most attention right now? Is it the dark light of the Nefesh, your connection to your body in this physical world? Is it the white light of the Ruach, your emotional and spiritual striving? Or is it your connection to that hidden aura of the Neshama, your pure divine essence? Thank you for joining us for this complete journey through the Pardes. We hope these ancient truths help you and your family improve your own dimensions this week. If you enjoyed this full chapter deep dive, please like, subscribe, and share which part of the journey touched your soul in the comments. We'll see you in the next chapter.